I think perhaps more than any book in the Bible, John's Gospel contains things that cause us to scratch our head based on the way that John says things. John often says things which seem strange to our ears. Sometimes we can be so familiar with John's Gospel, if we are familiar with John's Gospel, that we don't hear some of the strange things that John says. But when we come across things in God's word which don't seem to make sense to our natural understanding, it's at those times, perhaps more than any other, that we need to listen up even more closely, because it's revealing that there's something in us that is not quite in sync with what God says, what God's word says. So if we're ever confused by what God's word says, that's the time for us to ponder and to think even more deeply about what is it that is confusing us. And there's an example in the passage which I read just a little bit earlier, and I don't know whether you picked up on it or not. But John says something very, very strange as he tells us what Jesus did next after he saw this, what we would call a revival, in the city of Samaria, after his conversation with the woman at the well. But as I say, John says something very strange next in verses 43 and verse 44. Listen to what he says.